let's invite our next speaker, that is Pradeep, who is going to come here and give great insights on product positioning. Over to you, Pradeep. Yeah, Pradeep, your screen is visible. Yeah.
You're able to see the screen and
Yes.
am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah, your
Okay.
screen
Okay.
is also
You can
shared.
see me as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so today I am going to take you through product positioning, and as you could see, product positioning is not always in silos. So product positioning is always associated with the market. And my name is Pradeep, and I am a passionate product marketer. So let me take you through the journey of product marketing. Sorry, product positioning. So the agenda for today, I'm sure you might have heard a lot of times about innovative, good product which did not mark the presence and which did not perform as it was expected. So yeah, I would like to throw some light on why it happens, and the answer is positioning, because you will in next few slides you will try to understand what happened. So we will go through why is positioning important, and what does positioning does. So how it changes the game, what does positioning does, and at the end I will take you through the framework which I have adopted from a book, and I have practiced it. So with confidence I can tell with that framework we can also deal with how to do positioning, right? So why positioning? Let me first take you through my own personal journey. Like most of us, I passed out my engineering in 2010, and post which I started working as a sales. In my first 6 years of my career, I was a sales and BD, business development roles. And then what happened in 2016 was very important, and that is also important. Why positioning, right? So 2016, I decided I am aspiring to become a good product marketer and product manager. So that is where I started positioning myself as a product marketer, and then subsequently I started getting the roles towards that. And today I am into this roles of product marketing and product management from last 6 years. And with the recent MBA that I had, it opened up more perspective, and I got deep into positioning, and I am totally I totally like the concept and try to practice it. So I am a evangelist, and I want to create the product mindset in India. So this is an analogy about positioning, right? If you consider positioning as a pillar on which a house is built, then like if you consider house as a marketing, then the pillars are the positioning. Why do I say this? Because it's the positioning which dictates, like it also acts as an input into every tactic that we execute, right? Maybe the campaign that we launch, the sales collateral that we build, the messaging that we have for our product, everything is starting from positioning. So that's where positioning becomes more important. Now coming to what is positioning, right? I'm sure many of us remember a few of the brands very well in our back of the mind. Like we know iPhone as a quality, we know Volkswagen as a car, we know Coke or Pepsi as a drink or as a beverage, we know Nike, we know McDonald's. These are some of the things that we know. So guys, just think what has happened. Why do we remember this? This is because these brands are very successful in planting what is their position in our heads, right? So that is what positioning does. Positioning defines how our product is the best in the world at providing something that a well-defined set of customers cares a lot about. So this is what a positioning does, and this is why it becomes very important to have a strong positioning and followed by a messaging. Okay, so now let me take you through some of the key components that builds up a positioning. So earlier we saw why is positioning important and what does positioning do. So now you will be very interested to get going, but unfortunately, very less data available on Google talks about how to do positioning, and especially how to do it in a repeatable way, so that we have a framework which can help us to adopt and which can help us to do it in a repeatable way. So here is what I have figured out. Some of the key elements that goes into positioning are these 5 factors. We should be aware of the alternatives. When I say alternative, these are not just our competitors; these are our competitive alternatives. And then we should be knowing what are our unique attributes towards the product that we want to serve, and what value do we bring in. So the other important things are what are the customer segments that we target and what is the market that we are playing. This is very, very important. So how does all these five, while all these 5 are very important, uh, is there a flow in which we need to go, or can we go by any flow? The answer is no, because if we go in a particular flow, then we will be able to achieve a better positioning as compared to we take anything other first, right? For example, the flow, this is the established flow, and there are enough times I have used this flow, and this comes from the source, and I got inspired from this book. And yeah, there are enough success stories using this flow. So what comes first is competitive alternatives. And the good thing about this framework is you can keep asking these questions and you will get the answers. Like when we talk about competitive alternatives, we should think about, okay, if we don't exist, what would customers use? Then we go more detailed, and we just don't look at competition. We look at a lot of other things. Next follows the key attributes, like the features or capabilities that we are building, what that alternatives don't have. Similarly, the value that we bring, and this value has to be tied back to customer problems. It is very important to speak value in the language of their problems. And then we should also figure out who are the customers that care us a lot. That's very important. And at the end comes the most important thing: what is the market that you want to win? That is very important. So looking more deep into the markets, so there, depending on what markets you want to enter, there are 3 styles of positioning in a market. And these 3 styles of positioning has got its own advantages and disadvantages depending on what is your objective and when to use it. You can select one of it. I would not go into the detail, but yes, in the examples I have, I would like to show how this style has helped the product positioning to become successful, right? So while there are many good examples of positioning, but looking into the B2B space, this is one of the very famous example about Google Glass. So Google, as you know, is a brand, and they came up with a Google Glass in 2012. And unfortunately, the positioning they had was called smart wearable for consumers. And they had a big bet on it because they had a very good technology where no other competitor was there in this marketplace. So they were the first one to invent a Google Glass, which can act like your smartphone. It can have notification, it has a camera. But what happened? They failed miserably. They failed to make an impact. And when you go deep into that, it boils down to a positioning problem. See, what they did was they positioned as a first smart wearable for consumer, but what user or consumer started comparing them is with the mobile phone. So even though they were the first in this in this area, but they were not that good when compared to mobile phone, which they never thought about that consumers would compare them with a mobile phone. So that is where the positioning went wrong. But they also have a success where they repositioned Google Glass by calling it as Glass Enterprise Edition. And the new positioning that Google came up with is they are building a wearable technology for workers in enterprise and industrial market. And what this has made them successful, and they are very successful today because they have a lot of these enterprise and industrial market, and the problems that they are solving for these workers is indirectly improving the efficiency on the floor, and now people are ready to pay them the premium. So with this new positioning, they are very successful, and they are working with a lot of big tech players in this area. So that's what positioning actually does. So coming to the next example, this is very near to my heart because I come from semiconductor industry, and these days you would be hearing a lot about this because there is shortage going on everywhere, right? So the famous example Intel. So few of you may know Intel as something which makes very complex device, right? But that's how this industry is. Many of the consumer or end consumer doesn't know what a chip is because it is embedded in the end product. So many of us doesn't know unless you are working in that field or you are expert in that, right? So what has Intel done in way long back in 1990s is that they saw competition, and the way they fought the competition is by moving to a strategy called ingredient branding. And this positioning style has helped them to establish the trust of the end consumer and to build a good brand around Intel processors. And also what they did was they have differentiated their product portfolio in a way it is easy to communicate, easy to understand. And with this, Intel has positioned it, being a B2B player, they have positioned themselves as a B2C, and they were very successful in this positioning methodology that they followed. So this is what guys positioning does, because it's not all about the product. It's about what do you want to communicate with positioning to the end user, right? That becomes more important because that is the final thing that a user would remember. It would be fixed in his memory. So positioning plays a very important role in the product life cycle. And just to summarize a few takeaways from today, product positioning is very key for communicating as well as delivering value. This is very important. And then we looked at the 5-step process. I know due to the interest of time, I could not spend much time on this 5-step process, but yes, I do have a LinkedIn post on this. Maybe you can have a look at it, and I'm always happy to connect with you to discuss more about the 5-step process. And then the 3 styles of positioning, which is important considering which market you want to play. That's all I had. And once again, I thank Product Syndicate for giving me this opportunity to talk about this topic of positioning, which is very near and dear to my heart. And I could be reached on LinkedIn as well as on my email ID, as well as the email. So thank you. I'm open for any questions. Yeah, I'm available offline as well, or you could put it in the chat window. If no questions, then over to you, Archana.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pradeep. It was really great to see like how product positioning matters a lot in the successful products that we have in the market today. Thank you again for the wonderful session on the branding and product positioning today.